Welcome to DAX Machina. Welcome to DAX Machina. Join us as we explore the mysteries of this world. Cryptids, monsters, macabre tales, and horror stories abound. Could they be true? Are monsters real?
Good evening, folks. Thank you guys for joining us for another edition of DAX Machina. Glad you joined us here on this awesome Saturday night. We've got a full house tonight. Anthony Pitbull Canatella is here. Doc, brother, how the hell are you?
Wyatt, I am rolling.
Yes, I've missed that. I know you've been busier than a one-legged man in an ass-kicking contest, so it's good to have you back.
Good
and we got Uncle John in the house tonight. Doc, how's things been for Dark Angel?
Been pretty busy, brother. Been pretty busy. We got some good stuff going on. Have some good pushes from a good buddy of mine, Jack Carr. So he's been pushing our kits a good bit. So that's a good point of reference. If nobody knows who Jack Carr is, check him out and check out.
Watch the terminal list on Amazon.
Oh yeah,
the terminal list. Yeah, absolutely.
Oh my God, badass.
John, how are you doing tonight?
I'm your Huckleberry.
And joining us tonight in the studio is a very special guest. He's been a long time participant in the chat. I've been meaning to have him on for a while now, but he's got his own channel. He is a man from an interesting perspective. I think you guys are really going to enjoy having him here. And just from our conversations before we came on the air, I think this is probably not going to be his only visit to the show, because I know we are going to have a lot more to talk about than we're going to be able to fit in a couple of hours. So big welcome to the show to William Nighthawk. My brother, welcome to the show. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
I appreciate it, DA. Thank you, and everybody. Well, I am 35 plus years into the cryptid and paranormal investigation field. I've done field investigation and research. I have tracked, I've ghost hunted, I have done all kinds of stuff, cleansings, property, homes, you name it, okay? I was literally born into the paranormal field. My mother was a dark black witch when I was growing up, and she did a lot of stuff and taught me quite a bit too growing up too. But that was my first real interaction with the paranormal, growing up in a haunted house and on land that was just extremely weird. Saw my first real cryptid sighting at the age of 12. Had my first ghost encounter at the age of about 3. And from there, it just blossomed. I mean, it's been going ever since. It's almost like being Native American, which I am. You know, I'm Shawnee and Lakota, and being connected to the earth and to the environment as much as we are growing up, and as much as our elders teach us and our own parents teach us, to stay connected to everything, because everything has spirit. I pretty much stayed connected to it, and unfortunately, or fortunately, the paranormal field stayed connected to me the entire time too. So, but yeah, there's a lot to me. So, if you have any questions, feel free to hit me up with them.
I'm sure I'm going to have a ton of questions. I know the guys are as well, but I'm going to be keeping an eye on the chat tonight, because I know we're going to have a lot of questions from them as well. Being born into this field, not only the fact that you were immersed in this from your earliest memories, but the fact that you're Native American gives you a whole different perspective that most of us will never understand. Because like for the presence of these cryptids, most people either only believe them after I've had an eyewitness encounter, or through their own research they start believing these things. But the Native Americans have embraced the existence of these creatures since long before European settlers were on this continent.
I can honestly say without a shadow of a doubt that anybody that doesn't believe that cryptids do exist, you will find out. That's all I can say. They have been a part of my family's folklore and my people's folklore for the longest time. We are taught through oral tradition, generation after generation, on how to interact with these beings. And I call them beings because I don't call them animals. Okay, they're more than just a mere ape or a dog that looks like a man running around in the woods. They're intelligent. They interact. They have families. They have family units that are structured in a way that it's almost like a matriarchal type of a society, where like the Seneca people, where the woman isn't, the one that really sets the precedence in the family unit, and the male is there to protect the unit. And that's just, I'm not saying I'm an expert by any ways, and that's one thing I want to make very clear. I'm telling everybody from my perspective and my interactions with them over my almost 60 plus years of being alive, and my family's interaction with them. That doesn't make me an expert. That makes me an expert about my family's interaction with them, but not anybody else's business. So I want to put that out there. I can honestly tell you that yeah, they do exist, and anybody that really doesn't believe in them will eventually see for themselves, because they're starting to be interacting with people more frequently. They're
I've noticed
starting
that
to
sightings
lose.
seem to be on the rise.
Yeah, there's something going on. There's something triggering this, almost on a spiritual level. That something's definitely shifted. My father always used to tell me that, when we go out to the woods, we go out with an honorable spirit. We want to honor everything and walk humbly when we walk into this world. We treat everything with respect because everything has spirit. So he told me, if you ever come across, Big Brother, just don't look him in the eye the first time. Let him tell you it's okay to even be there. And if he doesn't get aggressive and he doesn't threaten you in any way or make action to harm you, then you can make eye contact with him. If he gifts you, make sure you gift him back. Because if he gifts you and you don't gift him back, you're not going to have a friend looking out for you in the woods. You're going to have an enemy. So, but there's a lot to it. I mean, there's so much to it that he said the only time they're really aggressive is when they're younger around, or mankind gets in the middle of a hunt for food, or basically is disrespectful to the environment and the animals in the environment. So, yeah, there's so much to it. It's more than just growing up and having that connection. It's more than that, because once you're connected to them, you see them a lot.
Yeah.
But you have to prove to them that you're going to be willing to go that extra step and not harm their environment, because they are the watchers. They are watching everything. So
I want to take a quick second to thank Tanya Willis for this. She's just showing love and appreciation for the channel. The AI need therapy after Dark Moon, and that's all I'm saying. That is awesome. Thank you so much. I want to jump back here where you referred to them as the Watchers. I've heard that term used before. That's what my uncle used to refer to them as.
Yeah, well, the reason I call them the Watchers is because they, being taught what I was taught by my father and my uncles, was the fact that basically they are the protectors. They protect everything out there. They look at things on a more of an equal level with the environment. You see, mankind went towards technology. Okay, we went towards technology for the most part. But most of the native people stayed grounded to the earth, and through our ceremonies and stuff. So we are more, all indigenous cultures around the world will tell you that they're more entrenched with sightings of these beings than non-indigenous cultures. Yeah. And since mankind took to the technology end of it, well, all the cryptids stayed on the other end of it with the nature, the raw nature and the power of Mother Earth. And one thing that I believe is everybody that sees all these, what they call cloaking or or disappearing and all that, or shadows. It's just their energy that they've derived the power of from the environment they grew up in, that they've lived in for thousands of years. So, and they have lived there for thousands of years. Now, that doesn't take away from, and this comes from an old ex-military guy. This doesn't take away from what our military industrial complex has tried to do by adapting these into programs to benefit the military. Okay, I don't want to go into detail with that, but that's one thing that I know of, and I've talked to quite a few people that have been involved in that too. But yeah, the cryptids, the dogmen. I was always told by my dad that there was about 6 different types of these things. With the Bigfoot, I was told there was 4 different types of those. And if you want, I can go into detail on that. But like I said, the first sighting that I had when I was 12 years old, I was riding dirt bikes with a couple buddies of mine in a field, and the field was surrounded by woods. And something told me after about a half an hour to get off the dirt bike and just, chill out and relax. So I stopped the bike, kicked the fuel off in the tank, below the tank, and looked down to my left. And sure enough, I look at my buddies behind me, and they're staring, and I'm looking down there, and I see the same thing they're staring at. Here was this big, hairy thing. And this is a 3D image of what I saw. Okay, this side profile view is what I saw. Okay, I couldn't make out if it was a female or a male, but the only difference between this profile and what I saw was the arms were up in the air in a tree branch about 14 feet in the air. So, but that's what I saw, standing there like this, reaching up into a tree.
Wow.
Now, I always had it in my head that maybe it was a female and maybe it was reaching for its young, or maybe it was a young adult, just kind of looking out for little brother or little sister, That's just me being a kid thinking that at the time. But after we saw that, we looked down at the ground, because that's what we're taught to do. When you're a child, you don't stare at it, you look down at the ground. And by the time we looked back up, it was gone. No noise, no nothing, no smell. And I'll get into the reason for no smell a little bit later, from my experience with them. But about a week later, riding dirt bikes again, about a mile away from there, in an old gravel pit area that was surrounded again by thick woods, pine covered woods. Next to a creek, a nice good sized creek, we're about 20 foot across, and riding dirt bikes around, coming out of the gravel pit of the tree line. And, motorcycles, dirt bikes back then, they pop and they crack a lot, so they're pretty loud, And I had a little 125, YZ 125, so it popped and cracked a lot. And anyways, I was going through the woods on the trail to come back out, and just as I went to head towards the final turn to come out of the woods, this branch gets thrown across the front of the bike, and my front tire hits the branch, and I flipped over on the bars onto the ground, and the bike landed on top of me. Well, I'm off of me. I look up to my right, and there's this thing walking away. This is this 3D image that a friend of mine did in detail scale from my description I gave him of what I saw walking away. The muscles, the structure, and everything, even down to the face. 3D.
See, that looks so similar to that face looks so similar to what I seen out in Palm Beach. Hold it closer to the camera, Lauren. You see it again? Yeah, that looks like Native American.
Yeah.
That's almost like the same thing I seen. The face looks like Aborigine from Australia. That's what I seen almost. That's pretty weird.
Exactly. I mean, every bit of the thing was muscle. So, and it was bigger than the first one that I saw, which, in my 12-year-old brain, almost 13-year-old brain, I was thinking to myself, well, this one had to have been the big guy, the protector of the family, So, because kind of like my old man was, he was the protector of our family. So, but yeah, it just blew my mind when I was at that age, 2 sightings within a week apart. And, both of them doing the same activity that I was doing at the time, which, to tell you the truth, I quit riding motorcycles for a while in those fields and in the area of those woods out of respect for them.
Right.
Because he wasn't out. He didn't do that to hurt me. He did that to get me out of his area. I mean,
He didn't like the noise.
Yeah, if he wanted to hurt me, he would have ripped me off that motorcycle and probably ripped me in two.
Well, he would have hit you with that tree. Yeah. But he didn't like the noise.
Anything, exactly. And the noise stopped right after that too. So that was my first 2 encounters with them. And it was amazing. It was absolutely amazing, guys. I mean, when you have your first real encounter with them, that's when you make your initial contact, and they can sense you. They know you're going to the woods before you know you're going to the woods. And I can honestly say that because every time I've gone to the woods after that, I've had run-ins with them, and I've been gifted. One time I went to this almost the same area, but I was walking through the woods and along the side of the creek, about probably about a football field from where the motorcycle incident happened the second time.
Mm-hmm.
And something told me, I wasn't alone. I was being watched. And I get this feeling like, there's more than just one of them. So I go and I look at the tree line, and there's 2 of them behind trees peeking out at me. Okay. And it looked like the same ones. Now, this is about a year later, but it looked like the same ones. Something told me in my head to reach down at my feet. So I reached down at my feet, and what do I pull up out of the edge of the water where it wouldn't have made sense that it was there to begin with, because it's at the edge of the water, and as much as water moves, you don't think it would have stayed there very long. But it was a dark black obsidian arrowhead. Now, obsidian is probably the oldest arrowhead you're going to find. So that's the other weird thing. So, but yeah, that was them gifting. That's how they gift. Okay. They're going to put that thought in your head, and they're going to say, okay, yeah, I want you to go pick this up, or put your hand there, or sit down there and wait for us to gift you. You know what I mean? They'll put that thought in your head. So, but yeah, it's really something.
You know what I think would be an awesome, guys, DA, John, Doc, what I think would be an awesome show is to have William back on with Fred and Jesus at the same time.
That would be a good show.
And get everybody, because you guys have that Native American background, and have everybody's input on it. And you guys can talk about, you got Fred in Alaska, you're down in Virginia, Jesus is over in New Mexico. You're all over the United States, but everybody's stories that are Native American or Native American background, you guys are telling the same story almost. The same things they've been told to them by their elders, or what they experienced, or their culture. That's what we were talking about earlier. That's the freaky thing. Back then, they didn't have cell phones. Hey, let me call the Cherokees and tell them what's going on here, and you tell the Mohawks over there. You guys didn't do that.
Yeah.
We don't have that. You didn't have that back then. So how are you having these same cryptids in your history, in your background, all over the United States? William,
exactly.
you talked about that on the phone a couple weeks ago. You know? So.
Yeah. Now, I'm not saying that they're not flesh and blood, okay, and bone. I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying that on a spiritual level, they are much more advanced than we are. Okay. If you think about it, humans can only see between 430 to 770 terahertz.
Right.
And then we can only hear like 20 hertz to 20 kilohertz, something like that.
Right.
So our sight and our hearing is so limited on the spectrum of light and sound that what makes us think we see everything? What
Right.
makes us think we hear it? You know?
Well, the caribou can
So
see
that's the way I look at it. So
caribou can see different. They can see what's the light the light version? VA Doc. My
The
mind's
spectrum.
blank. Yeah, they can see a different light spectrum than any other animal that they know of. Like if you had like a motion detector light, they could see that beam come out, of that laser beam come out to where you can trip it. Caribou can see all that, and that's what they believe that Sasquatch and Bigfoot could see, because there's numerous stories. I mean, me and Da talked about it, and also Doc and John, that they'll put sticks right in front of where the beam stops, not to go beyond that point to set the light off, and that's where
I'm glad you said that. Yeah.
Yeah, you're going to get your eye shot.
I'm glad you said that. Yeah, yeah, that's absolutely true. Yeah,
I think that's why they avoid trail cams too.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, they can see that and they can sense it. I mean, they're not. Yeah. You got to understand, you're in their territory when you're out in the woods. Right. It's not your land; it's their land.
Yeah, they're not dumb. Yeah,
no, exactly. That's the weird thing. Exactly. You know, like everybody puts trail cams out. Everybody's putting, oh, you're not gonna catch it on a trail cam. You might get a lucky shot, maybe in a distance, but you're not going to catch it by it tripping the laser on a trail cam. It's never been.
If you want to know where they are the most, it's where you're not going to see bears the most or big cats the most, because those are their main competition for food, for game. So it's been my theory, and it's only a theory, from interacting with them over the years, that wherever there's big game, minus like deer and and elk and stuff like that they can actually take and kill and have and harvest, you won't have any big cats and you won't have any any big bears around the area, because they're in the main competition. The Bigfoot will actually chase, any cryptid will actually chase the animal out of the area if they feel it's going to threaten their family or their their livelihood. I mean, we would do the same thing. We do the same thing as human beings. So
I mean, there's stories
of trap them or kill them.
Right, there's stories of them finding grizzly bears with their necks snapped.
Yeah,
what's going to snap a grizzly bear's neck?
Not much.
Yeah,
not another grizzly. It takes hands to grip.
Right. Yeah. So, it's weird stuff going on.
So, William, what's your perspective on like the missing 411, people that go missing, and the old native tales of them coming into camp and stealing people, like children, women, even men at times?
Well, yeah, there back in the old days, we had stories and legends of them coming in and stealing children. Never really the adults, unless it was like a younger woman or a younger male, someone that has just come into adulthood, and given like a warrior status or a woman status. It's been my thought and my dad's theory over the years that it was for strictly breeding purposes. And whenever they stole the child, it was, usually the alpha of the group that would take child, because his other half probably lost a child at birth, and that was the only way to comfort her. A lot of people said, oh, they stole Indians and stuff to eat them. They were cannibals and stuff. Right. I'm not disputing that. Okay. But to say that every missing person's case throughout history is to be blamed on their hunger,
Right.
No.
Yeah, that's
No.
I totally agree with that. I don't think because so many missing people. Some of them, fell into a crevasse. Some of them broke an ankle and couldn't get out and got taken by coyotes. There's so many natural things that we are aware of that will take people, especially other people being the worst offender. But
Yeah.
Yeah,
the
and
missing 411 cases generally deal with the ones that are just really weird.
I've seen big cats take riders off the back of horses and pull them up into a tree.
Yeah, I've heard stories of
I
that
mean,
too.
it doesn't take much for a 160-pound cat to pick a 200-pound human off of a horse. So, and granted,
the weird thing is, like, we have panthers here in Florida, and I've never heard of a panther attack in Florida yet. But you go to California, Colorado,
right?
They're getting taken on walking trails and joggers and bikers, and I had two on my property. My uncle seen it. John seen it on the property at my property out in Fort McCoy. They didn't bother anyone. It's so weird how different where I live in Florida, and then you go up more north. They're more, I don't want to say maybe aggressive, maybe more, I don't know. Maybe they are more aggressive. I don't know. And maybe that goes for the same with the Sasquatch and Bigfoot. I don't know.
Now, what about other cryptids like Dogman or the Gugway?
What I've found, see the Gugway. That's my family's always called it the bear man, because of the shorter snout. But we've always called it the bear man. And ironically, the bear was the first of the, medicine men for my people, because it stood on two legs and it knew what herbs to eat when it was hurt or had a sour stomach or had a muscle ache or something. It knew what to eat, what bark to eat, so the bear was technically our first medicine man and taught the native people in the beginning, what herbs and stuff and barks to use. So, we learned a lot from the bear, but, and that's why we called it the bear man. Now, it could have very well been, that at that time in those days, in those early days, that we didn't know what we were dealing with. We just try to describe it as best as we can, like anybody else. So, but I guess the Ojibwe call it the Gugway.
Right.
And, I had a very good friend that was, his name was Grizzly. He was a Ojibwe, big man, mountain of a man. He was 6'11" and 350 pounds.
Wow.
Yeah, he was a big man, a Vietnam vet. He passed away a while back, but, we used to sit too and talk about and swap different tales and stuff for growing up and all that. And, he had a couple times where he, talked about the Gugway and, about, the tales of them being mean and injuring their people without even provocation and all that, how they would take out after it with groups of young men, armed to the teeth to try and hunt it down, and they never found it. I mean, it's just, it's just oral tradition, we're going to have that. But if you look at the Bigfoot on the full spectrum of things, okay, with my dad telling me there's 4 distinct groups of them. You got the big ones, the big muscular ones that come down from Alaska into Oregon, Washington, Utah, Idaho, that area, even parts of Montana. They can get up to like 14 feet tall, from what I understand, from what my dad told me. I mean, they're huge. They're literally just huge, massive beings.
Same thing Fred was telling us from Alaska. Same exact thing that you're saying. They're just bigger, taller,
and then you got,
crazy.
Yep. And then you've got the ones coming up from South America that are the smaller ones, up to 7, maybe 8 feet tall, that basically came up from South America and the rainforest down that way and moved across Texas and New Orleans and all that into the swamp lands all the way over into Florida Everglades.
Exactly. Right.
And that's what they relate to the skunk man or the skunk ape now. Right. So we call him the skunk ape. But
See, we call them
smaller,
swamp Indians. They call them in South Florida, and that's the weird thing.
Yeah,
The Seminoles and
yeah,
Miccosukee,
yeah.
they call them,
Miccosukes. Yeah, the
Indians.
Miccosukes especially call them that. Yeah,
yeah.
So, but that's the second, and he's the one with the foul temper. And I tell everybody too, whenever they ask me why are they so mean? Well, if you lived in a swamp your whole life, had to fight for your meals against gators,
Right.
snakes, cottonmouths, you name it, wildcats, all kinds of
Right.
stuff, you'd have an attitude too. I mean, plus you got to tromp around in freaking swamp up to your knees all day
Right.
long. You're going to be miserable. So they're going to have an attitude too, just like we would. So
Right.
that's why they're mean. I mean,
try being covered in hair and
brother,
living in the humidity.
Exactly. Not to mention all the small bugs and the gnats and the mosquitoes and that are just irritating
Well,
day in and day out.
Let me ask you a question, William. What do you think about people say they cloak and everything? Like me and DA and Doc have seen, and John have seen the hairs, and they're hollow, just like a polar bear, where they can take on different spectrum of light. What do you think about that? I mean, as far as your experience goes.
Well, they basically, oral tradition states that they can walk between worlds, and we didn't have any reasoning for them disappearing just out of the blue. 1 minute they're there and 1 minute they're gone. So you got to understand, any cryptid out there in the wild is going to be better at camouflage than any human being. I don't care how good of a special forces soldier you think you are. You may be the top of your group. All right. And believe me, I know a lot of them. They're brothers of mine, love them to death, and have their back all the time. But I wouldn't put up my camouflage skills against any Bigfoot cryptid or any Dogman cryptid any day of the week. So
it's like the story
they are literally
told.
masters. Yeah, they are literally masters, guys. They are the masters out there. That's their world,
Right.
And they basically can derive, like I said, they're Asians call it chi. Okay, it's a chi. It's your essence. One thing that I've always said too, with a lot of people seeing these orbs and stuff, I've always said from the beginning, since day one, that the orbs are their essence. It's their chi. It's their karma, I guess you could call it. Their essence. Okay, their being. All right, and they put that out there in that shape as a distraction to help them disappear. They use that. That's their strength. They get somebody, oh, look at that orb up there in the sky. And by the time they look back down, it's gone.
Right.
Yeah. So, that's them. That's them doing that. Okay. It's not a UFO or whatnot. Some people think that it's portals. It very well could be a portal that they're opening up. Yes, that could be.
We don't know.
But
none of us know.
Yeah.
Right. We have
just from my experience, every time I've seen an orb, it's always, they want you to look there instead of where they're at. So it's kind of like, a diversionary tactic, But yeah, they're hollow hairs. My dad had a good theory about that. He said back in the 70s, when I was a child, that he said, one thing that these people are going to find out with Big Brother is he likes water. And I kind of, I asked him, I said, well, Dad, what do you mean he likes water? Well, you know how cats don't like water. Yeah.
Right.
Well, bears like water. Yeah. But Big Brother's not a bear. He's a being. He never said human. He never said animal. He said being. Okay. And his theory was that the water being energized with the hollow hairs on their body generated some kind of vibration that would make them cloak. That was my dad's theory.
Not a bad
Now
idea.
we all know that water has energy.
Right.
Okay. Anybody in the paranormal field that's done a ghost hunt or anything like that knows very well that water has energy, and weird things happen around water. And just by chance, where are all the 411 missing people disappearing by?
By lakes.
Water. By
lakes.
water.
Yep.
Yep.
Now, there was another theory that they said that they think the hairs that when these beings put off, or these creatures put off infrasound or something like that, it actually vibrates their hairs.
Yeah.
On their body.
Yeah. That's
right. It changes their. It almost looks like the Predator movie. It'll just be there 1 minute and then boom, gone. You know. And
right. And that's Anthony. That's what I meant by getting the energy from the water. It gives them enough energy to reach that vibrational frequency that they need to actually disappear. You know, and it's so amazing because, you know, I have to laugh too every now and then because people they don't want to believe it. Okay, oh no, you can't believe those crazy Indians. You know, they're just, you know, a bunch of yahoos, you know, talking about stuff that their ancestors said, you know, 1,000 years ago. Well, you know what? This yahoo's seen it firsthand.
Right.
You know,
but I mean,
almost 60 years of living on this planet. So, yeah, I mean,
guys,
it's just
all you guys have that. All you know, it's not just you. Any Native American, you know, like we said before, you know, your background and everybody else's background in this area, you guys have such similar stories and similar accounts and beliefs that, you know, come on.
I put this out there, Anthony. I'll put this out there, Anthony, Doc, and everybody, and John. You know, if people want to put their cell phones down for a day or two and get out there and see firsthand what it's really like out there, they might just see it for themselves. But they have to step away from technology long enough. Exactly. Step up to the way we used to be and get a. Yep. So
they're always on them.
But yeah, it's and it's ridiculous. It's absolutely absurd. Yeah. And that's, to be honest with you, have your visual sightings and stuff in your interaction. You know, and most of these yahoos that are talking about even get off their cell phone long enough to actually look above. So I don't know.
Yeah,
that's just my opinion. So
it's I agree. Unfortunately, the society we live in, you know, everybody's so invested in everything on the internet, be it Facebook or any of the social media. I try to unplug, you know, just completely unplug from everything once in a while. Go out, just sit by the fire pit in the backyard, or go out in the woods.
Yeah,
it never fails when I get on the show. My phone just blows up. I've just had 2 phone calls. I've had to text somebody like, "Look, I'm on the air. I can't call. I can't talk to you."
Everybody asks what's going on yet. I get the same thing.
Yeah. It's
nobody
just ridiculous,
and that's you're all right.
Put the wig on.
It's
John.
just ridiculous.
Yeah.
Put the wig on.
I mean, what is
Anthony's goggles with it? Yeah.
There you
go. William, what is your belief on the like you said about them taking, you know, we talked about them taking children and stuff. Now there was a story that coincides with yours that this was taken by a county Mountie years ago, and he witnessed a child in a field running around. And when he went to the call, comes to find out that it was a child. It was actually a hybrid. And when they found the group, the clan, there was actually grown human women with these Sasquatch, and it so happened to be one of the girls, one of the women was one of the girls he was looking for. I think it was like 15 years ago that she went missing, in the woods. And when they captured her, and they took out these aggressive Bigfoot because they got aggressive. They found out it was actually one of the girls, and this guy was a cop telling his story that he witnessed all this. And DA, do you remember that story?
Yeah, that was the one that they did on Dixie Cryptids.
Yeah.
That was a really good story, and they ended up bringing in special forces groups with a task force for like federal law enforcement and special forces, and went in and had to put this clan down because they kept taking people.
Right.
Yeah, I know that. I know the group.
Okay, they talk about that.
Yeah, I got away.
John's just a shaved Bigfoot. That's all it is.
Just shaved,
Yeah, I dye his beard white, so it throws everybody off.
To get back to Anthony's question about that whole thing. Yes, they do take, like I said, the young women and the young men. They take them as children, and they use them for breeding purposes in the future. Because basically they've figured out that they can't survive on their own solely because they don't have enough numbers to actually not interbreed into their same family gene pool, if you know what I mean.
Right. It'd be like interbreeding almost.
Right, exactly.
Okay.
And so that was going to lead into my next description of Bigfoot, Big Brother, whereas you've got the human looking ones.
Right.
They're somewhat hairy. I mean, they're just like, normal people, basically, a little bit bigger, and they're more muscular than we are and more defined and stronger because they grew up with these actual big feet people to teach them certain ways of living and survival and all that. So yes, they're human looking. Some of them look Neanderthal because of, the breeding of the human and the Bigfoot. But that's the type. That's the third type that my dad told me about.
That's the one I seen. It looked more Neanderthal.
Yeah, and you got to understand, my dad was telling me this back in the 70s, okay, early 70s. So, I've had this theory for a long, long time, and just through my interactions with them, and I've interacted with two different types and seen the third type that I'm going to describe to you, which is the Gugway. Like I said, we call him Bear Man. It's a short snout, almost like a baboon looking face of a monkey. And that is, like I said, like my brother Grizzly used to say, they are mean. Okay. They can be anywhere from 9 to 10 tall. They're covered in hair. It's usually like red brown hair. From what I understand, it's never like a dark colored hair. And that's just, from, my people telling me, and, all my Native American, brothers and sisters that I talk to telling me this. So, but yeah, that's the four distinct types. You got the kind coming from Alaska, the kind coming from South America. You got the human kind, which is usually along the Appalachian Trail, on up into Maine and Nova Scotia and all that area up in there, and across the Great Lakes. And then you have the Gugway, which are across the Great Lakes also. And sometimes you're going to find out that two species will butt heads, especially if they have two dominant males that feel like they should be the only alpha male in that territory. So, and the same with the Dogman, same way, you're going to have two different types, and then you're going to have the enhanced types that the military does, especially like the ones that they released down on the LBL. There's so much, guys, that, I mean,
you're not the only one that said that.
There's so much
about the LBL. We had, what's her name on, oh my God, sorry, Cryptis Huntress, and she did a thing with DA and all of us about the reading on it, and she said the same thing, that they were military enhanced, running around out there, And that's the weird thing.
Yeah, you got to understand one thing too. Well, our military is going to take advantage of the opportunity they get.
Oh,
They
absolutely.
always have.
Exactly.
Look at Operation Paperclip. Operation Paperclip. You know, I mean, they've always taken advantage of every little chance they got to get ahead of everybody else.
Right.
So,
right.
and they won't do it out in the open. So, but
What about the
I mean,
one
there's so much to the cryptid field right now.
What about the one, the type of Bigfoot they see, they've reported up in Canada and Alaska that they refer to as the Genosqua?
Yeah, well, I'm going to leave that one up to my buddy Ryan. He's probably on tonight listening. He's going to have a big thing about Genosqua.
Okay.
I really don't want to get into that right now because I know he's trying to finish up some background information on it and stuff, and I really don't want to like put it out there. It's be like me releasing the footnotes from one of your books, DA, and before you published it. So I just I don't want to do that to him.
Well, without jumping into what he's going to release, do you think that is they're legitimately there, or is this just something that people have kind of latched onto from legends?
I think that it's probably kind of a little bit of, you can say hysteria. Fear does a lot of weird stuff to the human body. We all know that from being in the military and being in law enforcement and the medical field. Fear does a lot. Then you got, the misinterpretations from what the eyes see, which is, we can't explain everything. There's just no way. So it's kind of like my people calling the Gugway the bear man. So, it just is what it is. I'm not going to say that it doesn't exist.
Right.
But I can honestly say I don't think it actually does. I think if it does, then it's going to be some kind of assisted genetic type of a thing. Okay. Whether it's, genetically linked to another species by interbreeding, or genetically altered by
government
exactly.
Projects. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Tanya Willis had a question. She said, could that hybridization be a contributor to the vocalization sounds that sound like words?
Well, no, they do have their own language. Ron, who was it? Ron?
Moorhead.
Ron's Morehouse.
Moorhead.
Yeah, he actually hit the nail on the head when he got those vocalizations. They do have a language, and a language that here I'll play some for you.
Cool, very cool.
If I can get my phone to work. Let's see. All right, let's see here. I'll try not to blast you guys out of the studios. If I can get it to come up here. Come on.
That's all good, man. I'm deaf anyway, so play it loud.
Huh? Did you say something?
Huh? All I hear is me all the time, so it's all good. VA gave me 10% for that, so there you go.
All right. Come on. Oh, it's not going to do it for me. Darn it. It's not going to do it for me.
Well, that sucks. Hopefully, we'll be able to get those at some point. But is like when Ron Moorhead made those recordings, they had them analyzed by the Navy. They said the pitch of the voice was both above and below what human speech was capable of.
Right.
So it would be impossible for a human to learn their language.
Well, we can interpret the language and do as close as we can as far as, communicating with them. Hold on a second. I got a speaker hooked up now. Maybe I can get it to play. Come on.
That's from the Sierra Sounds, correct? What they call the samurai chatter.
Yep.
There's two of them across the creek at the big rocks.
That's
crazy.
some of them.
Yeah, those Sierra Sounds are intense.
That's crazy, man. If I heard that out in the swamp, I'd be, shitting pebbles and running the other way with my rifle. But
it would be a good day for brown pants, Anthony.
Yeah, you'd want to wear brown out there.
Yeah, a lot of brown.
I've been out in the Mark Twain with a couple of friends and heard those whoops, but they were in the distance, and I couldn't get them to record on the recorder I had at the time. I mean, now I've got this, so if I'd have had this back then, I could have definitely recorded it. But now what I had then, it was like an old it was back in the late '80s, early '90s, and I was trying to record it with a little tape deck, and it didn't pick up a thing. It just picked up us going, "Hey, what the hell was that?"
Even Nana Boss said the same thing. She played here. Let me put up the question. We played it the last time we went out and got a lot of activity. Because her and her son go out a lot. Matt, he has his own show and she has her own show, and they're in Florida, and they're down in Palm Beach area, and that's where my sighting was. I know they do get a lot of vocalizations down there. I never heard it. Like the one I seen, I think we snuck up on it, because I didn't notice it until it turned its head. And it was like 150 yards out, 200 yards out, but I looked at it through a scope. And that's how I noticed it. When it turned its head, I was like, me and my buddy both looked at it. We were on a swamp buggy, but I've never heard anything like that. Weird shit out there that you put two and two together now.
Yeah.
After hunting out there, now you're like, okay, the dogs come up missing, neck snapped, and stuff missing from coolers, and just crazy stuff.
Okay, Anthony, let me ask you guys something too. Anthony and Doc and DA and John. The picture that was turned into the Sarasota Police Department of the
Mayaka skunk ape.
Skunk ape?
At the zoo.
What do you all think about that?
I think it's honestly, it looks it looks like an orangutan. That's what it looks like to me. I mean,
right.
I think it's a legit photo,
right?
But I think it's of an orangutan.
Yeah, I do too. I mean, the pictures that they have, everybody that cites these swamp apes, it looks nothing like that.
No,
nothing.
All right.
I could be wrong.
William?
I might be wrong. I don't know people. Throw some comments out, some answers. But Doc, what do you think?
Okay.
I saw those
the
pictures, and I think it's orangutan like too. I mean, that's just my scientific take on it. Just from the size, the shape, and everything of it, it doesn't look like skunk ape or anything like that.
Especially with the canines. I mean, they
Yeah.
had giant canines on it.
What about
Yeah.
you, John?
No, it was the skunk apes or the swamp apes down here, and what I saw in Pennsylvania. Of course, I only saw it going away, and I didn't even know what it was. And Dad says, "Yeah, we don't mess with those." So I was about
They're too
13
nasty, too mean.
hunting. So
Yeah.
no, that was
Yeah, I'm under
definitely some
I'm
kind of
under
a monkey.
the same
you know?
impression.
You
Yeah.
think it's an orangutan?
Well,
William?
I've been doing a lot of research. Yeah, I think it's an orangutan. I think, well, you got to remember when Andrew came through, Hurricane Andrew, there was
I
over
could tell you
300
stories.
primates that escaped.
I could
Yeah.
tell you stories
So,
in Palm Beach, brother.
Yeah.
I could tell you some of the stuff that we've
Yeah.
seen out there hunting. Ocelots. Ocelots are from Brazil, in the rainforest
Right.
down in South America. When the hurricane came through, especially out in Lion Country Safari area, when it didn't do that much damage, but a lot of the stuff did get released. I mean, there's ocelots running around out in the management area out there that adapted to the swamp area, which they're used to out in the rainforest. They're not native to Florida.
Yeah.
Same with the iguanas,
Yeah.
the pythons. Now you've got the water monitors.
How about those big turtles? They're big snails from Africa.
Now they got those big giant
They're
snails.
they're like 18 inches big.
Yeah,
better.
I mean, some of the stuff, like you said, I mean, yeah, the stuff that got bro. I remember, William. They had I don't know if you remember. There was another hurricane that came through, but it hit through Palm Beach area, more down that area, and actually damaged Lion Country Safari to where when we were out hunting, they actually said that one of the cats got loose, and they were actually trying to track it out there. It got out of its enclosure. I mean, how would you like to be on a swamp lake and see a friggin' lion or a tiger running around? You'd be like, what the hell is that?
You should see them in the woods.
Okay,
over
now my next thing, I'm going to blow your guys' mind, and hopefully some of the viewers' minds out there. Not only do you have like the Hurricane Andrew, like I said, with the 300 species of monkeys that have escaped, but you have like the Pennsylvania thing recently where the 2 chimpanzees escaped. And all throughout history, you always hear of, circus train derailments and stuff like that. But the one thing that sticks at the back of my mind, that a lot of this stuff might have been brought here from Africa years ago, whether willingly or unwillingly, and unknowingly or knowingly, through the slave trade, is the one thing that they found in the 1800s in Ohio was a baboon skull.
Yeah, I remember seeing that documentary. I remember seeing that.
So how can you account for a baboon skull, from the 1800s, and then recently in like 1990s they found another one over in Ohio? So I mean, how can you account for the span in time between the two findings if they didn't bring them over back in the 1800s and all that? So I just it just struck me,
Hey, we got monkeys here in Ocala.
Oh yeah, you remember the big one up at your place?
We got monkeys running around the swamps out here in Ocala in the forest because of Silver Springs attraction.
They had them out there for the Tarzan movies.
Right, my uncle could contest to that because there was one on my property. You'll drive down Interstate 40 and see these Mayak monkeys on the side of the road.
Yeah,
I mean, 4 foot tall, digging in the grass. They're all over the place.
Yeah, I've been doing recent studying since I've been dealing with the Dogman issues up here in Virginia, and a couple Bigfoot sightings up in Virginia here, borderline of West Virginia. A couple other things that I've been getting into here recently is doing research on the devil monkey sightings and trying to coordinate on a map of the U.S. and Canada where these sightings took place and what part of the states they took place in, so I can figure out, maybe it does have something to do with, escaped monkeys or something, or, and time frames, like color coding, the certain times, like 25-year period at a time, So
Sal
I don't
Bastos
know.
had a
I
good
it's
question.
just what's
He
that?
said, "Were those skulls?" He says, "Were those skulls like the baboon skulls? Were they found in deep soil or just on the surface?"
Yes, yeah. The one from the 1800s was found on the surface. The one from 1990 was found deep in the soil.
So
So
it
Yeah,
had to
well,
have been there a while.
well, the same thing with that new video that came out. What was
yeah,
it? Coyote Peterson
yeah,
found
and
that
it was a
that gorilla head. What was it? The gorilla skull?
trail too. So
And have you seen that yet, William?
oh yeah, that's a big
Yeah,
farce.
I know.
Yeah. I've
I'm
already
just
put
saying
two
it was
cents in
just
on that being a
yeah.
hoax.
I mean, we all
Yeah,
see. You can always tell. I mean, even when I looked at it, I mean, I'm not an
yeah,
expert. You could tell it's a gorilla
That was
skull,
a remake of a skull.
right? I mean, so I mean,
yeah.
it's crazy how what people do.
Well, you'll
And
be amazed at what they can do. So
Yeah.
all this is a
Well, apparently
3D printer to
the guy's claiming he
have all up
presented it as a what
to
if
fake. So
scenario, but when it was first brought out, it was presented as "look what I found."
right,
And
right.
I think people that do stuff like that, whether they're trying to do
yeah,
it as a publicity stunt or not, I think by presenting false information, because 2-3 years down the road, someone is going to dig those pictures up and go, "This was just found in British Columbia," and those are going to
Right.
make the circuit for years. I think presenting stuff like that, whether you intend it as a publicity stunt or not, I think it only hurts the field because it will call into question
yeah.
legitimate photos.
It's like I
Absolutely.
said this morning on my podcast, with Dennis that I was talking to. I always said that, in our field of specialty fields and stuff, whether it's cryptozoology, a study of cryptids, or if it's paranormal ghost hunting and all that, I almost feel like some people are put in those certain areas to discredit the field
Right,
on purpose. And,
right.
I was
I
talking to
stand by
Anthony about
that.
that.
I stand by that theory. And,
See, I said
I'm
that
not gonna,
Anthony.
for first off, I'm not one, yeah, I'm not to lie or mislead people. Anybody that knows me, my hundreds of friends and stuff that I have on Facebook and all that know me, they know that I'm honest. I put it out there, and I always tell them, you know what, it's not that I'm the expert, because I'm not. It's just my theory. It's just my way of dealing with the issue at hand, So
Hmm.
whether it's cryptids or whether it's ghost hunting, and I mean, I've done it all, you know. I've done it all, literally. In fact, I'm putting together a book. My sister and I are putting together a book, Growing Up Paranormal. And, so I mean, I've literally done it all, paranormal wise. I've dealt with elementals, I've dealt with little people, I've dealt with ghosts, with orbs, UFOs, Bigfoot, Dogman, you name it, dealt with it, you know. So if I'm interacting with these things almost on a daily basis, you know, there's so much to this world that people don't see,
Yeah.
and
Right,
it's gotten to the point with me where I can't wake up, in the morning and not have something happen that day. So,
right.
and chalk it up to, because when I was between 3 and 4 years old, I had a near death experience. Okay. And then fighting the cancer that I have too, I had a near death experience too with the cancer, just a couple years ago. And it just seems like every time I've had a near death experience, it's like turning my receiver up from a 2 to a 10 on the volume chart. where it makes me more sensitive to things going on around me and makes me more susceptible to see things and to hear things and all that. So, and no, it's not the medications, and no, it's not, it's not delusions. It's not feeble-minded. It's not any of that. Okay. Because I've seen and done everything, and you know, that anybody would ever want to do and not want to do. It just is the way it is. Anybody that's had a near-death experience will tell you it's like taking the volume control and turning it from a 2 to a 10. You know, and that's pretty much what it is.
Do you,
know,
do you think people that have had near-death experiences are more susceptible to things like this?
I do. I really do. If they're open-minded enough and grounded, yeah, I do. I really do.
Yeah, John,
because I've had a couple near-death experiences, and when I was a kid, I almost drowned, and they pulled me out of the lake and revived me. And then once later, when I was a cop, I mean, I've had a couple of really close brushes, and I think that I never really thought about the connecting those two. That's really kind of given me a lot to think about. There's a number of things I would like to talk to you about off the air that are on a more personal level. But I don't necessarily want to talk about them on the air, but I would like to talk to you about it when we have a chance to talk
that's fine.
I actually
for any of you
died
guys,
4 times.
if anybody,
yeah, John.
Then John knows what I'm talking about too. Then,
well, yeah, because my uncle John is my uncle. Everyone, if no one knows that, but John will see things. I'll be in the bedroom and he'd be like, and I'll walk out an hour later. He goes, "What were you doing in the kitchen?" I'm like, "I wasn't in the kitchen. What are you talking about?" "Yes, you." And he'd argue with me.
Yeah.
He'd argue and argue. I'm like, "I wasn't in the kitchen."
Yeah.
And
John has that gift.
Yeah.
Well, I died 4 times.
Yeah.
So they brought me back, but I died.
He has that gift.
One time for 8 minutes.
Yeah. The some cultures call it the third eye.
My mother used
to see he has that gift. Yeah.
She was always reading cards for people and doing things, and you know.
Yeah.
So.
My mother was busy making voodoo dolls and out of dough, out of dough, and you know, all kinds of weird stuff. So, I mean, I could tell you some stories from growing up in that house with her as a black witch that would make your hair stand on end. So,
I mean, get off subject here.
But
DA, is that your back massager? I hear.
Yes.
I hear it. Okay, I'm looking around the room. I'm like, what's that noise? I'm like,
Annette bought me a back massager.
That's what I hear. That's what I
It's a sciatic.
Yeah.
I've got a horrible lower back anyway. I pretty much destroyed my lower back. My surgeon says I've got the back of a 95-year-old man, and he also says it's just a matter of time before I'm rolling the wheelchair. But I think it may be closer than I anticipated. I fell yesterday, and since the fall, I mean it's bad. I mean I may have to go to urgent care.
Lorna boss said this to you.
You know, I get shot.
At least it's in the back. Laugh out loud. Get it? Never mind. I heard that one alone.
I've had shots. I've had the injections into my spinal cord like 6-7 times now, and they last for about a week.
Yeah, I've had those. They're not. They don't last.
I got you beat on that, DA. I've been having those shots done to me. Probably had 20 of them done to me so far.
If anybody wants to donate an all-terrain electric track wheelchair for DA, hit me up and we'll have it shipped to his house.
I found one that'll. It's not electric. It'll let me go off trail. I just got to save up the $700 to get it. It's not cheap.
What do they call those things? Rascals?
No, this is not electric.
Scooter?
It's manual powered, but it's I can tell you what it's called. I've got it saved in my favorites. Give me just a second. I'll tell you what it's called.
I'm gonna have when we get the GTA. I guess we're gonna have to make it very, very all terrain for you to get back into the woods when we go out up here when you move down. So you can't get out. They're gonna leave you in the Jeep.
It's called the Rough Rider wheelchair. It's built off mountain bike parts, and it's got inflatable wheels, and it'll go over obstacles, and you can take it up and down stairs. But you got to learn to use it, obviously. But it's designed to be able to. Instead of having those little bitty narrow casters on the front, it's got wide ones that'll go over rocks, and they're made out of rubber.
Nice.
And it's a fantastic chair for people with my type of mobility issues.
DA's going to go rock climbing.
No, it'll almost do that. Yeah, there were people taking it on like bike paths, with just over rocks and roots and everything else.
No, I'll be the one that's taking them out there in the Jeep.
Heck yeah.
Go that way. You're not going to get out? No, just keep going. Don't worry about it. That'll be it. Soon enough, I'm okay with it. Don't worry. I got a big lens for the front. Don't worry about it, man.
We'll have the camera.
Yeah.
I want to quickly say thanks to Shane over at West Coast Dogman.
Yeah, man.
Thanks for the super chat there, brother. Really appreciate the vote of confidence. Thanks, man. Sorry, guys.
Yeah, Shane's a good guy.
If that thing's making too much noise, I'll shut it off.
No, I was just breaking your balls, man.
Nah.
I was breaking your balls, man. That's it. Don't worry about it. I don't worry about it, man. Leave it on.
I didn't realize it was you guys could hear it. I've got noise canceling headphones in, and I don't hear it.
No, it was really low. When everybody was quiet, I heard.
Yeah, I hear it now.
Yeah. It's all right. Don't worry about it, man.
Yeah.
Everybody,
Your back will love you for it. Just don't mess around.
And I'll just play some Bigfoot sounds in the background. That'll cover it up.
There you
Yeah,
go.
there we go. I've got what I call my desk Bigfoot, so if I can get him out without knocking my microphone over.
yeah, show him that one. He's
Oh,
thinking.
The thinker. Yeah.
I named him Woodrow.
Yeah, but the same thing, like you said,
So,
William, down here, just like down here in Florida, like by us, if you take anything that will adapt, it seems to adapt here.
Yeah.
Don't know why, because maybe the atmosphere, the humidity, it's crazy that, when I called, Fish and Wildlife that day, and I'm like, hey man, there's a monkey in my tree. And I knew they were around, but I didn't think they were that far out where I lived. And the wildlife guy says, shoot it. And I'm like, what? And he goes, it carries hepatitis C. If it scratches you or gets, close to you and actually scratches you, you'll get a form of hepatitis that is not treatable.
Or spits at you. Yeah.
I was like, okay, and next thing I know, I look back up and the thing's gone. But they don't travel by themselves. They travel in packs.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, just like wolves. Yeah.
Yeah. So we got crazy stuff here in Florida. That would blow your mind. I mean, really.
That's why Florida is a great place to visit, but not to live. Well, yeah, Florida's got Ron DeSantis, so I will give you that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Soon to be an open carry state if he helps it. So we'll see.
There you go.
We're
They're
hoping.
supposed to go to open carry here there very shortly.
We're hoping. So, not to get off subject, but anyway, right to you, William. Go ahead, take it over. I'm sorry.
I was just going to say that it's just amazing, because with all of us that have had experiences like with you, Anthony, and DA, I know you've had some experiences too. I'm sure Doc has. John, I'm sure you have, at one point in time. But just to think that with all the people around that have had things happen or seen things that they can't explain when it comes to cryptids is astounding because there's more and more people getting involved into the field every single day, you know. And it's like, my dad used to say that it wasn't something that we talked about. You didn't really talk about it. I didn't really talk about it growing up with anybody either. So, but I still was interested in it and still did my research. Oh, I'm going to go out hunting for a couple of days. I'll be back, in a couple of days. And I'd go out in the middle of nowhere and I'd be out there researching and doing my thing. So, but it's it's amazing that everybody has all the sightings that they've been seeing. From the Bigfoot skunk ape thing to the Dogman to the lizard man. You name it. I mean, my sister's up in the Bridgewater Triangle area, and you'd be amazed at some of the things she's seen up there. So
A lot of weird stuff in the Bridgewater
up there,
Triangle. From Puckwudgies to
up there,
Bigfoot to lizard man,
and it's amazing. And
devil worshipping cults and
not to
everything
mention,
else.
literally everything. Yeah. So, but anyways, that's another story. But if anybody has any devil monkey sightings that they want to report or anything, or knows of any in their state, they can contact me, through Facebook and, look me up that way, or private message me one way or another, and to give me the information so I can put it on the site map. That'd be great, if they could help me out with that.
If I run across any, I'll send them your way.
Oh yeah, man.
That would be great. That would be great, because that's just part of the research that I'm doing. The other one, like I said, is the Dogman sightings here. The Bigfoot sightings here go on quite a bit, but we've got a couple resident ones that live in the area.
Now, what's your take on
I've
that
also,
stuff?
well, I mean, it's on the Dogman.
Yeah.
Or on Bigfoot.
No, the Dogman.
Okay, well, the Dogman. How do I want to? I want to say this, but I want to say it.
Just hit it. Don't worry about it. Just
you don't have to pull any punches here, man.
Yeah, don't worry about it, man.
This is a no judgment zone.
Yeah, you're family now, so yeah, you can say whatever you want. So
we don't throw rocks here. No.
Oh, that's good, because I don't live in a glass house.
None of us do, brother. None of us do.
As far as the Dogman goes, I think that it's always been here. I did a thing on one of my podcasts a few months back where I talked about the, as it says in the Bible, as above, so below, and the link to possibly some of the earthquakes and the volcanic activity and stuff, and the floods and stuff that we've been having lately that have opened up a certain chamber or something to another realm, as you might want to say, or another world.
Was
not that I believe
firing
in
off that super collider.
Yeah, I mean, it could be really anything that's doing it. But the fact of the matter is, they are here and they are real. And like I said earlier, our government took and ran with the football and started genetically enhancing them as soon as they found out they were real. So you have people out there that
disinformation stuff too.
Oh yeah. The disinformation people is what kills me. And they put it out on every field of research there is. So in case they want to. Yeah, they want to squash it, and squash any information about it. They'll do it, one way or another. And that's another thing that we're fighting too on this scale of doing these investigations and stuff and research, is the censorship from all the social media platforms. If the government doesn't want you to say it, they're not going to let you say it. Plain and simple. Yeah. So. And that's sad too for somebody that's protected our country, and I would still protect our country to this day.
Yep. Oath has no expiration.
It's very disheartening though, knowing that we're being lied to and treated that way.
I
So
totally agree.
that's
Amen.
that's
Amen
all
to
I
that.
that's all I can say about that.
Yeah.
And they are lying to us each and every day. CERN is a big
Oh God, yeah.
CERN is a big problem, but it's not just CERN. It's DARPA, it's Montauk, it's every other agency
Black
or
black bag off looks
black
project.
ops.
Yeah,
Exactly.
they have to be
That's also,
liars to get hired.
Well, I mean, if you want to get down to it, William, look at what the Bible says about the Euphrates drying up. About the fallen angels being unleashed underneath the Euphrates, and the Euphrates is drying up right now. That's a scientific fact. That's not BS, man.
Right.
So
yeah.
I'm of the opinion you can love your country and not like your government at all, and that's just the way it is.
Yeah, sir.
So
Yeah.
Yeah,
I agree with that, Doc, 150%. But another thing too, though, that you got to understand too, though, is we're dealing with a whole new generation that hasn't really had that connection to the love that you and I and DA and Anthony and John have had. It's like they lost that appreciation of being raised in a free country.
Amen.
And
Amen.
believe me, this is the freest country in the world, man. You're not going to find a better country in the world.
Amen. And
if you want to take a look at how government controls, look at Canada.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Yeah. And well, like you were saying, all this stuff, all this information, and we've talked about this on several shows about the Bigfoot and everything like that. And, the government's acknowledging existence of, UFO activity and things like that. But if they admitted the existence of a Sasquatch, and DA's even brought this up and made a very good point, would that not make them culpable for all of the disappearances, and things that happened in the past, So, I mean, I think we're being fed a line of bullshit here, to be honest with you.
Well, they got file
that's just the way it
cabinets
is.
full of that stuff.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, there's more people with these things out there nowadays that are capturing stuff, and just amateurs are just happenstance, coincidence. It's not just some dude out there in a freaking furry costume running around in the woods.
No, but these guys need better cameras.
Yeah,
right.
Amen, Uncle John.
It's like we said, Doc. I mean, think about it. You're not going to take your 5 and 6 year old camping out in a national park if the government actually comes out and says, "Hey, these things are running around out there. It would hurt the timber companies, like we talked about, millions and billions of dollars. The camping industry, going out to national parks. I mean, look what they did. What was that owl, DA? That they shut down that owl. That
the spotted owl.
Right.
Spotted owl out in Oregon.
Yeah. I mean, and Anthony, why are they sending the ODAs out to assist with a hunt for a missing child?
Exactly. And that's my point. You're not going to send a special ops team out there just to look for a missing kid.
No.
It doesn't happen.
That's not a field exercise. Sorry.
No.
I'm going to wave the bullshit flag on that one. Sorry.
Yeah,
but that's just the way it is.
Big time.
Numerous accounts that you got people out there looking for the missing. And it's not just one missing kid that they've done it with. You got witnesses. Well, a chopper came in and dropped these special forces guys off. Why? What are they going to do that that normal people that are going out looking for these kids can't do?
Right. This is not some tinfoil hat conspiracy crap going on. This is real world in your face evidence that's out there, and we have more and more evidence out there that people are bringing forward, and it's being swept under the rug.
Exactly.
So,
William, I've got a question for you.
Yeah.
I know the lore around Wendigos. I know a lot of the lore about the Wendigos, and a lot of the lore contradicts itself from different tribes. What's the Lakota perspective on Wendigo? Are they just somebody that's been cursed? Is it a possession type thing? Is it a natural creature that we assume is a person turned into? Is it what is the Lakota take on the Wendigo?
It's an entity that can basically take over your body, like a
Like a
demonic
possession?
possession. Yeah, yeah, like a possession, and basically it would, in order to be susceptible to it, you would have to done something pretty bad in order to be susceptible to it.
You got to open yourself up to it. Something horrible. Kind of
Yeah,
like a skinwalker. They've got to do
yeah, you
something
gotta
that corrupts them, puts a stain on their soul.
pretty much, yeah, almost the same line, almost the same thing, but with the skinwalkers, and trust me, I know a lot about this. I know a lot about this. How do I want to say this tactfully and as gently as possible. If you talk about the skinwalker disrespectfully, or in a joking manner, making fun of
Mhm.
it or whatnot, you're opening yourself up for a world of hurt. Trust me.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Um,
And
I
I'm
I
glad.
grew up with this. I literally, Doc, I grew up with this, and I have seen it firsthand. I've done the blood ceremony, and that's all I'm going to say about that. But I have definitely seen it firsthand, and I
So
have people coming to, yeah, I have people
what
coming to me all the time, asking me to protect them from skinwalkers. So,
I'm
that leads to the exact question I was about to ask. Um, I'm not going to name the person because they reached out to me confidentially. I know a researcher that he's been researching an area, but we'll say it's roughly in the Dakotas area. I'm not going to say exactly where. Um, but the area he'd been researching, suddenly everything he'd been spotting disappeared, and he said the entire area now has this unbelievably foul feel to it, and he's been followed by something he doesn't know what it is. Now said he thinks it might be a Wendigo, but he doesn't know, and he doesn't know what to do about it. So if it's be it Wendigo or a Yinatalushi, how do you protect yourself? What are things you can do to keep something like that from either following you or attaching itself to you?
well, I can only tell you a few things because I don't want to get in depth into it.
Mhm.
Because
Well,
personally,
obviously
those
you can't
indivi-
describe everything, but
those individuals, right? Those individuals need to come to someone like me, um, to find out how to do it. But I can tell you that you can wrap turquoise with a eagle feather and sage and put it in a pouch and wear that around your neck. That'll protect you to a point. Um, basically, the one thing I tell everybody is stand by your faith. Whether you're a Native American and do traditional ceremony, whether you're Christian, Roman Catholic, Protestant, whatever you are, stand strong in your faith and you'll get through it. Okay. That's just a generic way of putting it out there. Okay. Without getting in depth into it. But there are several other things that I could do personally. I've actually stayed up all night doing ceremony and saying the prayers and singing the songs and stuff for people that have had problems. Um, and like I said, I've been dealing with it a long time. I've seen it firsthand. I've actually done the ceremonies, and it's not sleight of hand. It's not hocus pocus mumbo jumbo. It is real, people, and I'll just put that out there that I'm warning you. Just be respectful and don't make fun of it, because as soon as you aren't respectful, make fun of it, you're gonna have problems. I guarantee it.
Amen.
So
Hey, and William, thank you for that, man. I've got a kind of a two-part question for you. One, do you think, and I've heard this through some of my friends who are Lakota, Navajo, things like that, that talking about the skinwalkers and also the Wendigo being corrupted shaman, medicine men, things like that. Is that
mhm.
that's part one? Is that something that's in the lore or the history? And number two, my 16-year-old daughter, almost 17, she's in here listening right now. She and some of her friends went up. We live out in Colorado, and they were up in the mountains the other day, and she found crow feathers in a trail to a looked like an altar type area where there was some charred, burned stuff there, along with an animal bone and a handmade dream catcher, like it was brand new with animal sinew and like 3 green stones with like turquoise in there. Is there any significance to that? So two-part thing. And she said she got a really bad there, and they got the hell out of there.
Doc, actually, if you can message me off air, I'll tell you what that is exactly.
Okay.
That's
I got the
something
picture.
that
She
you
sent me
tell
the
her to
picture.
stay away from. Yeah, you tell her that I said to burn that picture, and forget about it. Okay, put it as far
Okay.
out of her head as she can. Um, get her some sage and sweetgrass and burn it and have her cleanse with it after she burns the picture. And hopefully that'll fix what I think might be coming.
Okay.
But yeah, definitely private message me if you can, and I'll let you know what that is. I know exactly what that
Okay.
is. I've done it. So yeah,
Okay.
just yeah, have her burn the picture and just have her forget about it. And if you can, pick up some sage and sweetgrass or something, and have her take the smoke just like she would water, and cleanse herself. Okay, her full front, her back, her sides. Hold the arms out, everything. Have everything done. She can
Well,
even breathe it in if she wants to too. So because
because
that's not good.
we've had up in the El Paso County area, we've had a lot of Wendigo stuff going on and things like that.
Yeah.
And she just said that she and her friends got a really bad feeling, and as soon as that all happened, they saw it, they beelined and got the hell out of Dodge.
Well, the one thing I can tell you, Doc, with that is, the crow, to begin with, walks in both worlds. Walks in the world of the dead and walks in the world of the living. So that in itself should tell you that there's something not right with that situation. So
Right.
She didn't touch anything, correct?
She did not, but didn't one of your friends grab one of the bones off the altar?
Oh, great.
Yeah, and they were like, "Put that down. Put it down now."
Hey, William, after the show, stay on. When we go off the air,
She's
on,
in here.
because you
She's in here right now listening to you, William.
So you can tell Doc after the show. You can stay on the air and tell him.
So, and that's what I was wondering. I said, there's something bad, there's something evil associated with that. I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, we're Cherokee, so I don't know a whole lot of the tribal custom, but I know there's something associated with that.
Yeah. Odds are it's probably a Ute in origin.
Okay.
That's what I'm getting. But yeah, I really wished her friend hadn't touched anything.
I know her too. She's over there shaking her head. Me too. And so that brings me to the question though: is the Wendigo or the Skinwalkers info or incidents, is that associated with corrupted shaman, or is it for anyone who's been corrupted and opens himself up to that dark energy?
It's mostly the medicine men. The word shaman is too liberally said anymore.
Okay. That's what I meant was medicine America.
Man, yeah. We have medicine men and and what we call Wachashiwakans, which are holy men. And we have our good ones and our bad ones. usually, if you're going the way of the black magic and the dark arts, you've gotta literally um, turn yourself over to the black medicine, to the dark arts. Literally,
That's
your
well,
soul
that's kind of,
is theirs.
yeah, that's what I've been told.
So yeah,
I've
and
been
that's why I said if
strong
she
as
can
that.
actually smudge with the sage and stuff, and breathe it in a little bit, and get that inside, and then just blow it out, that would help a lot. She'll feel more grounded. Um, but yeah, just there's several different things that I can tell you that she can do if she's in fear. I can even you guys give me your mailing address and I'll mail you some stuff after I put it together for you for her
Okay, we'll
and
do.
her friends if need be. So, but yeah, well, that's something we'll talk about in private. Okay.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate it, man. I just wanted, and that
Yep.
was something more that was for me and for my family, but also for other people who may have in our listener audience who may have experienced something like that as well. So I think that benefits everyone.
Yeah. Well, there's
DA, how you
certain
feeling,
things
man?
out there that and I
DA, you all
certain
right,
things
bud?
out there that you shouldn't touch. So
Amen to that, brother. Thank you, Da. Any thoughts from you on that one?
With the and this is just based off what I learned from my uncle. Granted, I don't have near the experience that William does, but in did the burnt offering smell like tobacco?
She did not get close enough to it because when she saw it, she saw just the charred whatever it was, the burned remains, and then an animal bone, and she kept her distance. She didn't get close enough to it, and one of her friends saw the handmade dream catcher thing there, and she was like immediately her spidey sense picked up, and she was like she's an intuitive, and she picked up on it, and she's like, no, there's something bad here. You didn't smell tobacco or anything like that around her, did you? Not really. Okay, nothing.
It was raining.
Okay, so it was raining, so that kind of knocked some of the smell down.
Because about 1985 or 86. I don't know if he's listening tonight, if he's in the audience. My buddy Chris, his family bought some land out north of Lebanon, and we took the horses out back into the acreage, and there was this big stand of trees like right in the middle of the field, and the horses wouldn't go into the trees. So we got off the horses and walked in, just kind of exploring, and we found a rock altar in the middle of this stand of trees. And it was like two decent sized rocks with a flat rock set up on top of it. And you could tell that it had been recently used. And it was on his land. They had no idea it was there. But what we found is that the rock where it looked like stuff had been burned smelled of tobacco. And I don't know what the ritual was. I didn't find any feathers. I don't know what was done there. But none of the animals they owned, the dogs, the cows, the cat, the horses, none of the animals would go anywhere near that stand of trees. And we just kind of jokingly referred to it as the devil's altar and stayed the hell away from it. But you got the heebie-jeebies anytime you went out there.
Yeah.
And sometimes at night, if you went out behind their barn and shined a spot, because I used to go out there and help them buck hay all the time as a teenager. If you shined a bright enough flashlight out at that stand of trees, you could always catch eye shine out there. But we never went out there after dark. It just sounded very familiar, very similar to what we saw. But again, I never found out exactly what it was, but we always had a very bad feeling. It was a very dark place.
We saw one in Pennsylvania, up behind our house in the woods. There was a cave. Inside the cave, it was like you said, it was like two large rocks with a flat rock on the top. But it hadn't been used in a long time. But
that flat rock was so big, Chris and I couldn't lift it, and we were both,
in
our prime in our teenage years, where we spent summers bucking hay. We should have been able to lift that up and move it, but it was just too heavy. It probably weighed 700-800 pounds.
Yeah, it's like this one. We couldn't move it, and it had been there for a long time. And it was inside this cave. There was no animal bones or anything in there. Uh, saw tracks and stuff in there, but animal tracks.
What you guys saw was what we would call basically just altars, offering altars. They were made by what I call ancient ones. You could call them Bigfoot, I guess. And it's an altar that they would use to gift the elementals when they do ceremonies and stuff. And they do ceremonies. You see, when a Bigfoot takes a mate, it's not taking the mate as in frivolously, as in like, clubbing them over the head and dragging them off. It's actually a ceremony that they offer the elements a gift on the altar, whether it's a feather, whether it's, anything really. They make intricate little like designs and stuff with twigs and branches and green leaves and
their own hair.
Yeah, and their own hair. Yep, you're right. Yeah. But that's basically what that is. It's an altar. And the reason that animals won't go in there is because animals are in tune on the same vibrational field as the altars are. If you understand where I'm coming from, there's a lot to these beings, the ancient ones that that a lot of people don't understand. But those are definitely altars. If they were evil, like used for black magic, you would have sign. The altar would have blood stain on it. It would have feathers from a bird of like the crow or the buzzard or turkey vulture. If it was used for good, you might see an eagle feather or a hawk feather hanging from a tree, or an osprey. Because those birds are birds of prey, but yet they're good, strong medicine. They're honorable medicine. So if you see the altar with like the animal bones around it, then that opens up other areas of black magic that could have been used for that altar. So, it's my guess with the size of the stones that you two are describing that it was something very, very old that nobody bothered to mess with because they pretty much knew what put it there. So
well, I'm talking like over 50 years ago,
Yeah.
I'm 72.
But that could have been, that could have been put there, John, back in 1700s for all we know,
Right.
So, but and then you got to ask yourself, what has the strength to make an altar that big?
Right.
So,
well, it was like us, even when we went out hunting out in the management area, where not too many people know where I'm talking about, but DA and John and Doc know. There was an area out there called the burial mounds that no one would even, not even when we went on the swamp buggies, no one would even go across with their buggies, and you could see it look like little mounds, and we wouldn't even go in there, disturb anything. It wouldn't, put it like this, no one would hunt in there, or shoot anything. Out of respect. And they said they were Indian burial grounds out there, but I don't know. Just out of the respect, we never did.
There's no proof, but
right. So,
is she okay?
Well,
Doc?
you'll be amazed.
Doc, is she okay?
Hmm?
Is your daughter okay?
Mm-hmm. Oh, okay.
Yeah, she is. She was glad she trusted her gut and a little shook up, but she did sage when she just told me she saged whenever she came back to the house, and and everything like that. So we've already got sage and sweetgrass here at the house, and we've salted the outside and everything like that. So everything's
cool.
good there. Yeah.
All right.
I was just going to tell you to perimeter with salt.
Yeah, we did. When we didn't use the Morton's
Uh,
iodized. We used good old sea salt and salted the entire area.
Yep.
So it could be a shitload of dead grass, but that's okay.
Good.
Yeah.
At least you won't hit slugs.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Any questions? Anybody?
Well,
Any questions? Any questions? I think we covered every topic with William here tonight.
Yeah, you've kind of covered the whole spectrum tonight.
Yeah,
Man.
I mean, pretty much.
That way, William, I appreciate it, brother.
I'm kind of jumping back to Dogman
not a
here,
problem.
but it's something kind of near and dear to my heart. One, I write about them a lot, I'm also the Region 2 director for the North American Dogman Project, so it's something that's on my mind a lot is Dogman, especially after my sighting in LBL. One thing that bothers me about the Dogman is you get a lot of Bigfoot encounters where people say, you know, we walked around a corner and it looked at me and I looked at it and we went our separate ways. And you get the occasional story where you've got the gifting, or like in one incident, there was a logger who a tree fell on him and the story was the Bigfoot pulled the tree off of him and saved his life. You get those peaceful encounters, but you don't get that with Dogman. 99.9% of people that have a Dogman sighting describe it as either being demonic or hellish, that they're just absolutely terrifying. Dogman, and I agree that I think that they've been around for a very long time. What do you think they are? Do you think that they're just dangerous predators? Do you think they're guardians of some sort, or do you think they're just bent on killing?
Well, you have to ask yourself, why did the Egyptians have their god of the underworld described as a man dog?
Anubis.
You know, I
And
mean,
he was the
you
god of the
have to
underworld.
keep that in mind too. Yeah.
He was the god of the underworld too.
I mean,
so there you go.
Yeah. So yeah, I think that it's you're going to have very few people that actually. I mean, most people are lucky they got away with their lives with an encounter with a Dogman. I'll be factual about that. The encounters I had, my wife and I had, was just vicious enough to growl at us, you know, from two different things while we were walking at night with her dog. And let's just put it this way, a gun on me. So, and it was smart enough to realize I carried a gun because I have open carry out here. So, but yeah, it's very evil. Now you can say they're demonic. I do believe that a lot of the stuff in the Bible describes them to a point. You know, and you have reference, you know, like I said in the beginning, you know, as above, so below. You know, why do they always point to the ground when they describe hell? You know, and I honestly believe that the original Dogmen came out of the cave systems from some catastrophic event that happened, and nowadays they're just as rampant as Bigfoot are.
Right.
But they are in the two entities, the two beings will not coexist in the same space. Okay, Bigfoot, for the most part, are gentle unless you're doing something to disrespect the like I said, the environment, the animals, their family, you know, their territory, anything like that. Dogmen, they're just vicious to be vicious. You can call them the Hounds of Hell. You can call them the Shunka. You can call them the whatever you want to call them. You can call them
the Shunka or Dogman?
Well, I mean, if you think about the description,
Mhm.
most
Well, I was.
dogmen walk on four legs too.
Mhm.
So,
Well, I
Well,
didn't make that. I had made that connection. I thought the Shunkawarakan was more almost like a hellhound or the Ozarks howler. Wow, that actually
no.
kind of makes a certain amount of sense. I was going to ask you about the Lakota perspective on the Dogman, because even in my own writing, I do most of it from what I know, which is the Cherokee perspective. The Ulonga dog Lala, the knife dogs, the long dogs, whatever you want to call it. But the Lakota equate the Shunkawarakan to the Dogman. That's that's fascinating. That really kind of
Oh,
opens
yeah.
a whole
Yeah.
a whole different perspective
Yeah.
for me. Wow, that because they even talked about them coming into camp and stealing like infants and small children and dogs, especially
Yeah.
taking dogs.
Yeah.
Holy crap! Wow,
Yeah.
dude,
They were
thank you.
they were the
That
dog
that
killers.
that's
Yeah.
you ever have one of those moments where things just go and sync up in your head? Wow.
like the canine creatures of Euphrates,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. What did that mean?
So,
Well, it's not even that. Look at the
yeah.
sighting.
Well, I mean,
Look at the sightings they had in Iraq,
Yeah.
on the Tigris River. Soldiers claim that they seen a dog-like creature, werewolf, in the Euphrates, out in the tall weeds. I mean, you're going back
Yeah.
2004, 2007,
Yeah.
So I mean, come on. I mean,
Mhm. Yep. Anthony, again, I'm going to say, Doc's right. You're going to find a lot of parallels to biblical
Exactly.
accounts of the past and accounts yet to come, especially the end of times accounts with the dog men, just like
Right.
Doc said earlier. The
Yeah.
Bible, I mean, if you want to look at it as you don't really have to look at it even as a holy book. You can look at it as a guide book.
Right.
Well, you got to read it to
because
understand it.
there's so much. Yeah, and it's but unfortunately, with today's King James version, they've taken so many
Mhm.
sections of the Bible apart.
Yeah.
You got
Exactly.
the book of Mary. You got the book of Thomas. You got the book of Judas. You got all
The
these
book of
books that were removed. Yeah, the book of Enoch. It's just they removed so much of it that probably could help us figure out what's going on nowadays. So, and I really truly believe that the Bible's not only just a holy book, something to cherish, but
It's
also
also
it's a
pathway.
way of dealing with. So,
it could be considered a reference
Yeah.
manual.
Exactly.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
100%.
Yep.
Yeah,
Now,
absolutely.
now, William,
It comes with instructions.
right? Can these things be killed? And
Read
I'm
the
gonna
Old
ask the
Testament.
question. Can these things be killed or not? If you happen to run into one in your life, is
I
in
think so.
danger, okay. I mean, me too. I mean, we've heard stories, me and DA and Doc and John, they shoot at these things. I know I hit it, and they're hitting it with a 45-70, and you're hitting it 3 times and they're not taking it down. And
You're not gonna kill it with a gun.
okay. What
What do you
should,
recommend?
yeah, like what?
Yeah. Well,
Not
in
not
the
that I
old
want to go
days, we
hunting
used
one. I just want to protect
Yeah.
myself.
Well, in the old days, with magic and stuff, we used to take the head and separate the head from the body, and then you take the body and you bury it upside down, so the spirit doesn't return. You bury it
Wonderful.
face down in the dirt and bury the head separate.
That's your job, DA.
Yeah, I know. And her
That's
mother's still looking
just
for her.
that's just yeah. That's just something my father told me and his father told him of how
Yeah,
my
I've
family
heard
dealt
that
with the
before.
problem. But yeah, we always, if we didn't want the spirit to return, we always buried the body face down. That's just something that my family has said for a long time. So
I'd always heard that if you
other
did manage to kill one, to burn it, to make it sure it burnt
yeah,
completely.
well, yeah, you can burn it. But that also is involved with the werewolf legend. Whereas if, in order to kill a werewolf, you've got to either shoot it with silver or burn it, and those are the only two ways you're going to kill a werewolf. Now, if you got money to buy silver bullets, you might want to try silver bullets. We don't know if that actually works or not, because from what I understand, silver is going to be as precious as gold pretty soon, and it's going to be a rich man's game in order to shoot one of these things. So,
the way the economy's going, I don't think none of us are going to have silver soon. So don't worry about it. I mean,
What if
Yeah.
William? What about if the rounds are blessed by a medicine man?
Well, yes, you can bless them by a medicine man. You can actually dip the tips in holy water and do it that way. You can take the lead end if you're shooting lead at it, whether it's a slug or from a chin or whatnot, and carve the crucifix in it and bless it with holy water that way. You could try that. Yeah, there's several different things you can do to try it. I know guys that go out and they'll take their full metal jackets and they'll carve the cross in the end of the full metal jacket just to have rounds with them just in case they come across something like that. But it just depends. It really does depend on whatever your faith is. Me personally, back in the old days, we used to tie hide to our ankles and stake ourselves out on about a 10-foot rope and to the ground and take them on with just a knife. That's the old days. Yeah.
Damn, son.
And it's
That's balls. That's basketball.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
I used to do it with hogs with a knife, but I would not do it with a Dogman. Sorry.
Some bitches clang when they walk, man. The big old brass balls slapping together. Good Lord. That's heavy right there. Yeah, that was just I mean, but you just said about decapitation. If you blow their if you canoe their head, I mean, that's a question. I mean,
if they get that close, you're going to find my body with this in my hand.
Yeah. But yeah, that's and like DA said though, with the burning and stuff, who knows? Maybe some of these things are a species of werewolf, because they talk about the sons of I can't remember the fable now. One was raised by a bat, and the other was raised by wolves. One meant to hunt in darkness, and one meant to hunt on four legs. So, I mean, you take those old fables in account, the original werewolf never used to change into a human. So once he was bitten, the Greek legend King Lycian. He was
Lycian, I think it was so. King Lycian, who was cursed to become a wolf.
Yeah, man, I believe so. But it was, and he never changed back to a human. So, and you never know. Some of these sightings could be a werewolf. So maybe fire is your ultimate tool to use. We haven't gone that route.
I'm buying me a flamethrower.
Yeah, but also fire will also, DA, you got to be careful though with fire, because fire may cleanse time, but fire can also release something.
Yeah.
You know, fire's not always the answer, because in a
It
lot of
doesn't
rituals, when
purify
you
all the
burn
time.
things, like if you burn a Ouija board,
Just
if you
release
burn
it.
a Ouija board before you close the doorway on it, you're just going to release that evil.
Yeah, I don't mess
So,
with
yeah,
that
you know,
shit.
you just,
I've
Sorry.
seen that
yeah.
happen.
So you
in
got, I
Pennsylvania.
mean, there's just certain things you gotta, you gotta
If I-
really, you gotta think quick on your feet when you're dealing with. So
If I was going to burn one, if I was going to burn the body of one, I would make a large fire before I put it on there, and then I would cleanse the fire. I would put sage and sweetgrass in the fire, and make sure the fire was as pure as I could make it before I chucked the body into it.
You know?
Take them out to the Bonneville.
well, to
Salt
be
Flats
honest
and
with
do
you,
it.
you remember? Yeah, do you remember what they used to do in Vietnam with the tiger traps?
Yep.
With the bamboo that they used to cut
Yep.
and the spear, dig a big pit out, and
Oh yeah.
probably the way,
My-
if I ever did want to go and try to hunt one, I would want to do it that way, because when it fell into the pit, it would give you enough time to A, put a couple rounds in it, and B, light a fire, because you could always fill the pit with gasoline on the bottom, So I mean, there's several different ways to do it if I was to hunt one. Now, I'm not going to open myself up, say I'm going to hunt one. If I was to actually think of a way of doing it and giving the time frame to do it, then that would probably be the only safe way to do it.
The only way I would engage one is it was in
exactly.
self-defense. I am not going to actively hunt one. One, I'm not in the shape to do it. And two,
exactly.
I don't want to hunt one. I don't want to hunt a Bigfoot. I don't want to hunt a Dogman. I don't want to hunt a Skinwalker. I don't want to hunt a Wendigo. I only want to know how to defend myself and the people I'm with should that event happen.
Right.
So what you're saying, Will, is headshots count.
Shoot them in the head and they stay dead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The old zombie logic.
And when in doubt, double tap. Yeah, when in doubt, double tap. So
life is precious, ammo's cheap.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
It's worth shooting once, it's worth shooting twice.
Yeah, we're coming up on 2 hours, everybody.
Yeah. Follow the same trail.
I know DA's in a lot of pain with his back, everybody, and I apologize. He apologized. I mean, I don't want to cut it short. I know he wants to get off and relax a little bit. I hope everybody understands.
Red.
I got to get off of here anyways, guys. I got some medications I got to take for this, cancer treatment and stuff. So
I think we're going to call it
definitely private message me.
Yeah.
Private message me, Doc, and Anthony, if you have anything, DA or John, anybody.
Sure.
Anybody out there has anything they want to talk about, they can private message me. Get a hold of me through William Nighthawk on Facebook. PM me, friend me. I do pod on Nighthawk High podcast channel.
I'm going to post the link to your channel again.
Just get a hold of me that way.
Yeah, folks, make sure you go by his YouTube channel, like, share, and subscribe his videos there. You can find him on Facebook. William, you are an incredible resource of knowledge. Thank you so much for taking your time and sharing your experience and your wisdom with us.
Thank you, brother.
I really appreciate everything you've done tonight. And again, I think we've only just scratched the surface here. I want to have you back on sometime soon. Maybe like Anthony was saying, get a Jesus on and Fred from Alaska. I think that would be a fantastic show to hear you guys talking about similarities and experiences. And I think that would be a great show. And again, I want to thank you so much for coming on. Folks, I apologize. I'm not really at the top of my game tonight. Far from it. I took a nasty fall yesterday and I'm not doing so hot. But hopefully it'll be back swinging for the fences on Wednesday. Thank you guys so much for joining us. I as I've said many times, stories are journeys that we take together, and I thank each and every one of you for taking this journey with us. Again, William, thank you for being here tonight, brother. You are a wealth of information, and I'm pleased you came on, and I want to have it again. And would you? Yeah, would you close it out with just like a brief prayer in Lakota?
Tukashila, Mia Shatana Happy Lakota Yate Tukashila. Hey. Tukashila Slash Neo. Oh.
Thank you.
Oh.
Aloha to Sir Nighthawk.
Yeah.
Thank you, brother.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, thank you.
Like I said, if you all need anything, let me know. Okay.
Yes,
Will
sir.
do.
Yes, sir.
Everybody, thank you for being here tonight, and we will see you guys on Wednesday night. Hope you guys are safe. And remember, if you're going out, whether you're hunting cryptids, whether you're hunting big game, whether you're hunting just peace and quiet in the woods, be safe. Take a med kit, preferably a Dark Angel kit because they're the best in the business.
Got that right.
Yes.
And you have every right to come home safely.
Yes.
Take something to defend yourself. Be safe.
Yeah.
Tell somebody where you're going. Make sure they know when you're supposed to be back. So if you don't get back on time, somebody knows to look for you. Follow the basic rules. Take some basic survival supplies and know how to use them. Again, take a med kit. Be ready to defend yourself because there are things out there that aren't cryptids that can and will hurt you. And be safe out there and come home to your family. So again, thank you guys for being here tonight. Thank William so much for being here. It was a fantastic show, and I can't wait to do it again. And we will see you guys come Wednesday night. Good night, everybody.
Good
Good
night.
night, man.
Thank you for joining us. Catch us again Wednesdays and Saturdays on DAX Machina. A special thanks to all our channel members and Patreon supporters. Please make sure to like, share, and subscribe.